Professor catches student cheating with ChatGPT. I feel abject terror. Okay, wait a minute. Abject terror. All right. Okay. I don't know why you should feel abject terror, but let's do this. Welcome to the new age of academic dishonesty. A college professor in South Carolina is sounding the alarm after catching a student using ChatGPT, a new artificial intelligence chatbot that can quickly digest and spit out written information about a vast array of subjects to write an essay for his philosophy class. The weeks-old technology released by OpenAI and readily available to the public comes as yet another blow to higher learning, already plagued by rampant cheating. This is y'all's fault. It's y'all's fault, you dummies. You made it this way. You created the fiction that college degrees are real things that matter. You created the fiction that grade point averages aren't inflated and are totally legit and are totally good barometers of who is smart and who knows anything. You created this stupid fiction to justify your overinflated salaries, the overinflated education you paid for, and your overinflated benefits and your tenure and all your bullshit, and also all of the much more overinflated administration that you support and love in your stupid unions. You created this monster. You told people that they need to cheat rather than learn. All people need to go to a should have needed to go to a 4-year education to do was to literally just learn something, get specialization beyond high school in a particular field of study. But that wasn't enough for you, was it? What you wanted was to create a liberal arts degree to force people to take all of this bullshit that they don't want to take. You made it so that people had to score high in your dumb classes rather than just going in and learning to their contentment. And that is the problem with modern academia, is that it's not anything other than value is placed upon the valueless. There is no external value in academia. Value is internal. I go and learn a thing. That's why all of this shit should be internal to the student, and there should not be a monetary value of any kind placed on the outcome. You're paying for college, but right now what you're paying for is not learning. You're paying for a degree and an outcome, whether you learn it or not. But education isn't a reward based on a number. Education is a reward unto itself for those who want to invest in it and who choose to have the outcome. In reality, academic fraud shouldn't matter. It's a very hot take, right? Because academic fraud should only cheat the person committing the fraud. Because academics and education are something that should be valuable to the person. So education shouldn't be valued in this way. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, an academic fraud should really only be a punishment to the person committing it because they have not committed themselves to education. But we do have that, and so it is a problem that we need to tackle. Like, let's not cheapen what we've got. This is a real thing that now exists. Is like, now we have this marketed education, right? Like someone getting a 4.0 and you getting a 3.9 matters. It shouldn't, but it does. So now we're confronted with the reality of what is rather than what ought. Quote, academia did not see this coming. You can imagine the pinhead on this guy, right? Like, so he could stick it right under his stupid dunce cat. So we're sort of blindsided by it. Furman University assistant philosophy professor Darren Hick told the Post, as soon as I reported this on Facebook, my academic friend said, yeah, I caught one too. The best part is knowing how many they didn't catch. Here's one of the ultimate questions, though, I have about academia. If you get to the result that the person asks for, is it cheating? Speaking of philosophy question, because I'll tell you, when you get to the workplace and you get the result that they ask for, I don't think they much care the way you got there. So long as it's not an actual direct like infringement on intellectual property that exposes the company to risk or something like that. against this weird artificial construct we have for schools based on monetizing outcomes. And that's entirely the market issue with schooling. And that's why I think that things like YouTube, Rumble, wherever are so damn important, because the democratization of the spread of information, the democratization of education being more valuable than what you can get in some institution that you pay $100, $200, $300,000 for is going to come to a head. You can get high level information about any subject at the touch of your fingers, and with just a little bit look further, you can get really, really high quality education, oftentimes from these universities that are charging 5 figures for a class. You can just download the fucking I'll call them sermons. You can just download the fucking sermons and listen to the professor who while these other saps are paying 12 grand for a semester, you just listen to it for free. But you don't have that piece of paper. But that piece of paper isn't going to be worth much eventually. Eventually, the democratization of education is going to come to a head. The education bubble is going to pop, and it's going to be the funniest thing I've ever seen. Earlier this month, Hick had instructed his class to write a 500-word essay on the 18th century philosopher David Hume and the paradox of horror, which examines how people can get enjoyment from something they fear for a take-home test. But one submission, he said, featured a few hallmarks that flagged AI usage in the student's rudimentary answer. It's a clean style, but it's recognizable. I would say it writes like a very smart 12th grader. Hick said of ChatGPT's written responses to questions. So a very smart 12th grader, by the way, is just like a freshman in college. It's the same thing. He's trying to come up with some way that he happened to throw a dart and hit the one kid that did ChatGPT as opposed to the other kids that he missed. There's particular odd wording used that was not wrong, just peculiar. If you were teaching somebody how to write an essay, this is how you tell them to write it before they figure out their own style. Again, to me, this is a post hoc justification for getting it right. Imagine if he was wrong. Despite having a background in the ethics of copyright law, Hick said proving that the paper was concocted by ChatGPT was nearly impossible. Here he is. This is Darren Hick right here. This guy. So he's the guy who caught the AI. First, the professor plugged the suspected text into software made by the producers of ChatGPT to determine if the written response was formulated by AI. He was given a 99.9% likely match, but unlike in standard plagiarism detection software or a well-crafted college paper, the software offered no citations. So this is an interesting thing. And this is kind of part of the philosophy of AI that I wanted to talk about. If an AI is meant to be self-aware of AI-generated things, is it actually an AI, or is it just a controlled output? Because that's what's going to happen, right? They're going to try and regulate AI. Well, you either have to create a program that tells me that it's AI derived, or you have to give us access to control what the AI delivers. But what if you ask the AI to make it undetectable to AI? Like eventually the AI shouldn't be able to detect the AI. Right? Like eventually that shouldn't work as it gets better. Hick then tried producing the same essay by asking ChatGPT a series of questions he imagined his student had asked. The move yielded similar answers, but no direct matches since the tool formulates unique responses. Again, yes, if it's a true AI, the generation of the previous essay should influence the generation of the next essay. Each query to the AI should feed into its algorithms, should work to produce more rounded content. Like that's what machine learning does, is it takes inputs and outputs and modifies subsequent outputs based on any return information that it gets. And if it's not there yet, it will be, and it won't be long. I've heard ChatGPT is really, really good. Someone was like this is the first news story I've seen about it, but I swear it's like 4 days ago someone was telling me about it Ultimately, he confronted the student who copped to using ChatGPT and failed the class as a result. Don't talk to the cops. Don't talk to the cops. Don't talk to the police. Never admit your sins. This is the only way he found him, by the way. If he had not admitted to it, this guy would have never been able to prove it because he wrote like a really smart 12th grader or kind of like a philosophy 101 student. It's a 500-word essay. Like, how complex can this get? The undergrad was also turned over to the school's academic dean. I'm going to turn you over to the dean. But Hick fears that other cases will be almost impossible to prove. Dude, you've already missed a bunch of them. I can guarantee it. And that he and his colleagues will soon be inundated with fraudulent work as universities like Furman struggle to establish formal academic protocols for the developing technology. For now, Hick says that the best he can do is surprise suspected students with impromptu oral exams. There you go. Do that. Hoping to catch them off guard without their tech armor. What's wrong with this solution? What's going to be difficult is that, unlike convincing a friend to write your essay because they took the class before, or paying someone online to write the essay for you, this is free and instantaneous, he said. The other things, well, this one's free though. Even more frightening, Hick fears that as ChatGPT keeps learning, irregularities in its work will become less and less obvious on a student's paper. Yeah, imagine saying, write my David Hume essay on the validity of horror in the style of a New Jersey second-year philosophy major. Like, imagine that it starts picking up colloquialisms, idioms, speech patterns, typing patterns from specific regions, from specific levels of education. It says, I feel the mix of myself between abject terror and what is going to mean for my day-to-day job. But it's also fascinating. It's endlessly fascinating. Goodbye. Goodbye to your day-to-day job. Write an essay on David Hume's paradox of horror in the style of a poorly educated man from New Jersey. Okay, here we go. Look at this. Yo, what's up, guys? I'm no scholar or nothing, but I heard about this guy Hume who had this crazy idea called the paradox of horror. Basically, it's the idea that we get pleasure from stuff that's gross or scary. Like, why do we watch horror movies or read spooky stories if they're going to give us the heebie-jeebies? Well, Hume had this theory that it's all... This is like that Thug Kitchen cookbook. Well, Hume had this theory that it's all about our natural curiosity and desire for something new. He thought we're all attracted to weird or unexpected things, and that's why we seek out horror stuff even though it freaks us out. It's like we want to see what's on the other side of fear or something. But I also heard some people say that our love of horror is actually a sign of some messed up stuff going on in our brains. Like maybe we have some unconscious desires or conflicts that we ain't even aware of. The horror is just a way for us to deal with them. Personally, I don't know what to think. I mean, I love me a good horror movie, but I ain't exactly sure why. All I know is that Hume's paradox of horror is a pretty interesting idea, and it's definitely worth thinking about the next time you watch a scary movie. Whoa! That is like the inspirational speech from the unexpected student in high school or college learning about philosophy, right? Like this would be written in a fucking movie script. So pour out an odd bag of bow, more of that Freud. Spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Lost Planning tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law.